Ready for questions?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, same question. I asked him, do you see that where Michigan is a place, what you have to work on to get to that level, or do you just not look at it that way? Is this a look in the mirror and see them and say, well, that's where we aspire to, and we've got some work to do?
You know, I think right now, especially this time of year, like everything, we have to focus on the internal. Everything that we're doing right now is to be better in the controllables and to make sure that, you know, when we step foot on game day, we're at our best. We want that to be the best day of the week. That's all we're focused on right now. You know, I think, listen, they're a really good team. I think their depth is a real strength for them. Like, I'm not trying to discredit, you know, them, but we're a good team. Like, we weren't good today. We weren't. Not trying to, again, discredit what they did. You know, they had something to do with that, but I felt like there were too many things that we didn't do well enough that we either knew we needed to do or, you know, that we have done in a game like this that you can't afford to have that. So we're going to look kind of inside before we look outside, focus on what we can control in the areas we got to be better. But there's very much, all right, like this next game, just like this game, is really important. And, you know, we're building something. We're continuing to fight. We didn't fight as hard as we fought all year. I think that was probably something that was maybe just, you know, that was disappointing to me personally. But, you know, listen, we have a good team. We got a big game coming up. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit here and act like this is just any other game because we lost. It's not the case. All right? I know the importance of this game. Okay? But we got to turn the page after we reflect on why we didn't play at the level we're capable of today so we can get ready for the next one.
You talk about the fight. Do you have to say something to a team after that? Do you say something tomorrow in practice? Because when you lose on the boards, you lose because of defense is different than losing because of effort. So do you have to – how do you handle that?
Yeah, I got to go back and watch. I don't know that I would say there was lack of effort. There was a major lack of physicality. Those are two different things. I mean, there's some correlation to some degree, but, you know, we didn't lack effort. We lacked major physicality. And to give you an example, a shot goes up. It's not like we weren't running hard to the rim. The problem was we were running hard to the rim and not running hard to hit somebody and creating contact so we could rebound down the floor. Like, that's not an effort thing. That's a lack of physicality. And that's a lack of attention to detail. So that's where I'm most disappointed, I think, is our lack of physicality today. We had that against them the first time. And, I think to their credit, they saw some of that and they hit us more than we hit them. And you got to be physical in this game. Got to be really physical in this game. So that's kind of my viewpoint on that right now, just without going back and watching.
Obviously, you guys now move on. You have USC, then Virginia, then a great slate, Wisconsin, Michigan State. Like, it doesn't stop. How do you not let this loss kind of carry over with it being Michigan and a frustrating Sunday into what is the stretch run here before March? Yeah,
we own what we didn't do right, and we talked about that after the game, our lack of physicality, which has been a real strength for us. It wasn't good enough. That's on us. That's nothing that no one has anything to do with that but us. Great thing is we can fix that. That's controllable. And again, we have to be honest and identify like why. Well, why weren't we as physical? What was the reason for that? So we can move on quickly and not let it affect the next game, because rebounding is critical in this league. It is. You have to play physical in this league. We've had success when we do, and we've struggled at times when we don't. And so we're working really hard on it every single day. Rebounding, we're looking at maybe different lineups that could help us with rebounding. But I thought our lack of physicality on the boards, our lack of physicality on the ball at times gave them an advantage, and good teams make you pay more often than not when you do that. So that's something we got to own and get better at for Wednesday.
Jake, how do you coach physicality at this point of the season?
Yeah, well, listen, we practice it. Like, we practice rebounding, man on man. Sometimes you're doing it on a pad, but we compete in practice. So that there's obviously a level of physicality there for that, and so we're still practicing and working to get better. We had great practices leading into the game against Maryland and got our defense better. There were some things out there today that showed improvement, but when the shot went up, we didn't do what we needed to do. We can't give up, 12. I mean, they got how many more shots? 18 more shots than us, I think it was, right? 17 more shots than us. So, we didn't do our job on the glass, but we'll get back to work on that. We've been getting better in that area, and we weren't good enough today.
When we talked to Dusty, he said that he feels that you guys are not a good matchup for them. And he talked about certainly their size and things like that, but you were able to match up better against them the first time. Does it just come down to that physicality? Is the difference to you when you think back to that first game where it's tied with 8 minutes to go and this time it's as decisive as it felt?
I think we weren't as physical at times today than we were in the first game, and they hit some threes. They had 9, I think, in the first half. So that put the game at a double-digit halftime score. Thought we did a good job kind of to make sure it wasn't more than that. But listen, I think we did some things. We got some looks that we wanted. I thought the ball got a little stagnant at times for us. We talked about that, and we had some looks there where we had a chance to kind of cut it to single digits and get it, and I think we had a couple turnovers in that stretch that hurt us. So again, I like this group. This group's really close. This group works really hard. This group plays with great effort and typically plays more physical than we did today. And we can't let that obviously affect, and be the case in the next game.
Jake, 36.4% shooting. Devin got going a little bit late, but Mobley, 4 points. Offensively, what wasn't working that maybe you got in that first game? I assume it's not just physicality on that end of the court. What was the difference maybe on the offensive side today?
Yeah, they did some things defensively to keep them out of rotation. I think we did a better job at times not forcing, things at the rim, but when we did, right, it led to transition for them. So I think offensively we had some good looks from three that, we just didn't make today. And, from two, there were a couple, I think, especially in the first half, where we didn't fight for a better quality shot. You have that, I think, in games like this at times early on when everybody's juices are flowing and guys are being really aggressive. But you can't have kind of 3, 4, 5 attempts like that. And, I thought we had maybe a few more than we usually do that kind of let them off the hook defensively when maybe they guarded the initial action well. So we didn't get them in rotation enough. I felt like today was part of the problem. And, we got to get better.
And continues to show, spurts of being the offensive player that you could really use, obviously, off the bench. Is there a situation? Do you want him to see more from, more aggressiveness from him scoring-wise? I think he took 5 shots today. Is he being encouraged to maybe take more of a look offensively?
Yeah, he's played with great efficiency, offensively. So we want him to be aggressive on the catch. Definitely don't want him passing up, catch and shoot threes. I thought they're switching at times in ball screens. We got a little stagnant with the ball. We kind of stopped instead of, keeping it moving. And he's a good playmaker. He can read the game well, and we want him to be aggressive, certainly.
To what Adam asked you about Dusty's comment about being a bad matchup for you guys, what makes Michigan so difficult? I mean, I know they're maybe maybe not willing to concede they're a bad matchup, but what makes them so difficult for you guys to prepare for based on what you guys are trying to do against that roster?
Well, I think their size, and their ability when you have size like Yaxel to guard the ball like that, and that allows you to do some switching. That's a real advantage. So, we gotta continue to work on manufacturing and putting them in decision-making mode. We didn't make them make enough decisions defensively as the clock wore down. That I think we'll be better. We'll be better at that. We've done better at that. Weren't as good today. They're really big and they have great depth. I think there's no question about it.
This might be a tough question to answer, but like as an Ohio guy and who bleeds this program, I mean, what's the feeling like when you're hearing "Let's Go Blue" chants around the Schottenstein Center with down 20 points in that moment? And just what's that like? I guess
I didn't. Yeah, it's maybe hard to believe. My wife doesn't believe me when I tell her. It's hard for me to really hear what's going on in the game. I think our crowd felt like it was really good when we, gave them reason to be good. I don't. Yeah, I didn't really. In that moment, I'm sure. Like, listen, they're a good program. They travel well, right? Like that's. I'm not surprised they had a couple people here, but for me, I can't really hear what's going on outside of trying to see what our guys are saying on the court.
the question is more of just how this hits for you emotionally, personally, to have this result in the rivalry.
Yeah, well, I could speak to that certainly. This doesn't feel like. I know this loss counts the same as others in Big Ten play, but this game does mean a great deal to me and us, and so. This will linger with me personally, but I got to make myself move on too, just like I've asked our guys to. So, love this game and the rivalry. It's why I fought to try and get it because it should be the case. So, disappointed that we didn't beat them. I know they're good, but I think we are too. And disappointed we didn't beat them, and disappointed in the things that we have been better at that we weren't today.
Kind of alluded to there too, like you had a few runs or a few opportunities to either take the lead in the first half or trim it to single digits there in the second half. Just how disappointing was that to not be able to kind of get a near sellout crowd, fully into it, kind of get them on your side, build some momentum, and really put together, a big run that kind of puts them on their heels a bit.
Yeah, that's where we had to help the situation, right? And a couple of those were costly turnovers. I think one of the things that makes them really good is their ability to make you pay when you turn it over. Like they're dynamic in transition. When you throw the ball ahead to some of the guys with the size they have and ability to finish in traffic. So. Yeah, I think if we cut that to 9, 8, 7, it's a different game, and so we didn't do our part in that moment to get it rocking. There's a couple possessions you'd love to have back, but that's the way it went in that moment today.
It was a tough day for Junie. He only had 4 points. He was 1 for 9. What do you think Michigan did well that really challenged his game? He only took 3 threes.
Yeah, they limited his catches at times and made him really work to get the ball. I think they forced him into the paint, even when he didn't have it, to cut and move. And then when he did have it, they crowded him inside, and he had some decent size on him at times, especially around the rim. They were really flying at him. So I think in general, this isn't exclusive to him. We all needed to read the game better below the logo in the paint. We didn't read the game well enough today in that, like, we read it very well. Game before this, not as well today. But yeah, you could see a lot of times when it came time for him to cut, they drew the charge on him on the one. They were really preventing his catches at times.
Jake, coming into this game, you said you dribbled too much in traffic. Played them, and that's kind of what Michigan wants you to do, is run you off and kind of meet you in the paint with their length. it kind of looked like Kristoff and Amari maybe had some opportunities to take some threes that they passed up and went into traffic. Do you think that those guys passed up some shots that maybe they should have taken?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think there were a couple times we did pass up threes, and listen, I want guys to be aggressive from three, especially when it's an inside out or you got your feet set, right? Shots that guys work on every day, but it can be deflating when you pass up one and drive into traffic and turn it over, because part of shooting that shot is everybody expects you to shoot that shot, so then we can do our job on the offensive glass too. But I think we all of us just felt we're guilty of that at times today, of just not trusting the pass enough and not getting them into a long closeout where now we had a chance to shoot or touch the paint again and get maybe a better look on the next pass. I just think we were a little too hesitant, especially early in the clock when we got in the paint to kick it. We were holding on to it a little bit too much, either to shoot or just we didn't we just got to move it a little better. So it's a great point. It was an issue for us in the stretch in the second half at their place, right? We had a couple turnovers under the free throw line that led to transition for them. We just didn't execute it well enough in those moments.
Speaking of deflating in the first half, as you're kind of fighting an uphill battle, seeing Mara hit 2 threes, the first 2 he's hit all season, was there kind of like an inward roll of the eye, is this the kind of day it's going to be for us when you see that?
I mean, it happens, right, from time to time. Certainly, we weren't going to close out to take away that to start. He stepped up and made them. I mean, it's, that's the danger, I think, when you let guys get a little rhythm early in the game, is they can do some things they typically don't do. But yeah, it's not him knocking down 2 threes wasn't a big part of our game plan. But to his credit, he did, and sometimes in games like this, that can be those can be momentum shifting plays when guys step up and do some stuff like that. So. I got to give him credit for that. You're fine.
I know this is maybe too much of a macro question, and there's a lot more games left to be played, but there are games, you're in the second year of this, where along that journey, you're kind of checkpoints of kind of checking in on where your program is, where you're trying to get to, right? And is there anything, I don't know, even in a loss like this, that you maybe learn about not this team, but just the program you're trying to build in terms of where it is right now, where it needs to get to, what it has, what it doesn't have? You understand what I'm trying to get out there?
I think so. Yeah, I think I understand. I don't know if it's learning new, but just how hard it is, right, to win in this league on any given night. This is the best league in the country. It's the deepest for sure. And there's some teams in our league this season that give us as a conference, give us some top of the country type level teams. We want to be there. That's what we're working towards. There's a lot that goes into that. That at the end of the season, we sit down and we figure out, okay, how can we speed it up? How can we do some things to get there quicker? Right now, we lost a Big Ten game at home. Really don't like losing Big Ten games at home, and so there's not time to sit here and go through that stuff. We're collecting data on everything that goes into putting a team together, and there's some areas we got to continue to grow and improve in, and we're working while this season goes along to do that. But yeah, I said this from the day I got this job. I'm myself, our staff, these players, there's a standard in this program we don't run from. College basketball is different now than it's ever been, and how you get back there's things that come into play, but we're working as hard as we can to get back. Yes, we're not trying to just be good, right? We're trying to win championships here, and that's what we're working towards. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that at all. And we're taking steps. We're getting better. We've shown some improvement. I would love, right, to get there tomorrow. And there's a lot of season left. So I think that's the most important thing to remember. Today was really disappointing. They're a really good team. Again, we're a good team, and we're going to continue to fight and scratch and claw to get this program, all right, where I think it belongs. It's what I think and what I want for this team and our former players. So other people may have opinions about what that is. I don't know what those are. It doesn't really matter to me. To me, the standard is way up here, and we got to fight every single day to get there. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
I know it's Michigan, so there's emotional ties and all those things to it. But at the end of the day, this is one of the best teams in the country. And even in 2 losses to what you're talking about there, are there small things you saw in these 2 games that, big picture, give you some confidence that you're still headed in the right path, even if you're not necessarily there yet?
There's no moral victories in this, especially in rivalry games, right? I think that my focus is figuring out from every game when we play well and we're rolling, and you guys have all seen what that looks like, how do we do that more? How do we fight what can I do to help us do that more in heading to the next game and prepare and how we prepare? So when we did good things today, we coach in truth. So we're not going to watch a film and only watch, right, everything that went wrong. When we win, we don't only watch the good stuff. We coach in truth. And when we do things that are going to carry over, we need to acknowledge that was good, and we need to do more of that. When we do things that weren't good enough, like our rebounding today, we need to watch that, we need to own that, and we need to be better in the next game for it. So, no, there is no moral victory here. We got some things we got to get better at. We don't have a lot of time to practice, but this is a team that is resilient. This is a team that has responded all year long. And so I have great confidence in what our response will be moving forward. We didn't handle the in-game adversity as well as we've handled it most of the year. That's on us. We'll be better at that. We'll be better next game for that. And I'm excited to get back to work.